What if the person sitting in that window isn't lonely at all? What if, while the rest of the world sleeps, they are experiencing something the rest of us have forgotten how to access? We have been taught that aloneness is a disease, a void, something to cure with noise, with crowds, with endless scrolling. But what if we have it backwards? What if the real epidemic isn't loneliness, but our terror of ever being still enough to hear ourselves think? Welcome to the Unseen Mind. Tonight, we are not solving a crime. We are solving a person, and that person might be you. Before this video begins, you should know something. This is not a simple, ordinary video made to give you a few quick facts in 2 minutes. If you're only looking for a short and easy explanation, this probably isn't the video for you. This is a topic that requires deeper thinking, attention, and an open mind. The ideas you're about to hear are complex, thought-provoking, and meant to be understood beyond the surface level. So if you truly want to develop a deeper perspective on this subject, watch this video all the way to the end, because what we're about to explore doesn't reveal itself to the distracted mind. Consider the case of Christopher Knight. In 1986, at the age of 20, Knight drove his car into the woods of rural Maine, abandoned it, and vanished. For 27 years, he lived in a tent, alone. No phone, no electricity, no human contact. When police finally found him in 2013, the world expected a broken man, a hermit driven mad by isolation. Instead, they found someone disturbingly coherent. Knight didn't flee because he feared people. He fled because he couldn't tolerate the performance of being social anymore. The small talk, the masks, the relentless expectation to be something for someone else. He called it a desire to be alone that was so profound, it felt like gravity. The media labeled him a freak, cautionary tale, but psychologists saw something else. They saw a living experiment in what happens when a human being removes every external expectation and is forced to confront the architecture of their own mind. And here is where it gets unsettling, because Knight reported something that most of us will never experience. A state of consciousness so stripped of external noise that time itself began to behave differently. Hours felt like minutes. Silence became dense, almost physical. Was this madness? Or was this clarity? The answer depends entirely on something most of us never question: whether the solitude was chosen or inflicted. Enter the work of psychologist Daniel W. Russell and the cognitive discrepancy model. Russell discovered that loneliness is not about how many people surround you. It is about the gap between the social connection you want and the social connection you have. Close that gap and loneliness vanishes, even in a crowd. But here is the paradox. What happens when the gap closes in the opposite direction? When the connection you want is less than what you currently have. Psychologist Robert Kaplan gave it a name: aloneliness. It is the mirror image of loneliness, the distress of not having enough time to yourself. And it is so unrecognized in our culture that most people suffering from it don't even have the vocabulary to name their own pain. They just feel irritable, burned out, like they are constantly performing and never recovering. Now, look at your own life. When was the last time you felt truly alone and didn't reach for a screen to abort the feeling? Research by Tweevy Nguyen at the University of Virginia reveals something almost unsettling. Just 15 minutes of intentional solitude triggers what she calls the deactivation effect. Your nervous system stops trying to spark happiness. Instead, it neutralizes. Both anxiety and intense excitement flatten into a calm, restorative baseline. But here is the catch. The effect only works if the solitude is mindful. If you are scrolling social media, watching rage bait, or half listening to a podcast, you are not alone. You are just socially washing. And social washing is the most insidious trap of the modern age. It gives you the illusion of rest while keeping your brain in a state of perpetual stimulation. You never deactivate. You just overheat. Now let's go deeper into the hardware. Personality neuroscience has mapped something extraordinary. The brains of people who genuinely prefer solitude show a measurably higher baseline of activity in the frontal cortex, the region governing internal thought, planning, and abstract reasoning. Their internal world is not quiet. It is a symphony, and external stimulation doesn't add to the music. Competes with it. This isn't preference. This is neurology. Elaine Aron's research on sensory processing sensitivity found that roughly 20% of the population, 1 in 5 of you listening right now, possess a nervous system so porous to environmental input that crowded spaces don't just tire them. They overwhelm them on a biological level. For these individuals, solitude isn't escapism. It is a physiological requirement, like sleep, like oxygen. And yet, our institutions still treat it as a defect. Phone plans penalize single people. Tax codes reward marriage. Office layouts worship open-concept collaboration. We have built an entire civilization for the extroverted 80% and pathologized the 20% who need silence to function. The question isn't why some people prefer solitude. The question is, why have we made it so punishing to need it? British psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott believed that the capacity to be alone is not a default state. It is a developmental achievement. He observed something subtle but profound. When a young child plays in the presence of a caregiver who is supportive but non-intrusive, present but not interfering, the child internalizes a critical psychological structure: safety without performance. The caregiver becomes an internalized presence, a silent witness, and as the child grows, that witness remains within them. They carry the capacity to be alone without fear of abandonment. But what happens when that development is interrupted? When a child learns that being alone means being unsafe, that stillness is the moment before punishment, that their worth is measured only by how entertaining or useful they are to others. They grow into adults who cannot tolerate their own company. Adults who fill every silence with noise because silence feels like rejection. And then they look at the person who chooses solitude and call them broken. Perhaps the broken ones are the ones who never learned how to be still. The cost of ignoring your own architecture is not abstract. It is physiological. When a solitude seeker is forced into perpetual social performance, their nervous system enters a state of chronic hyperarousal. Cortisol spikes, sleep fragments, the immune system weakens, but the deeper damage is existential. They begin to live a life of accommodation, forcing themselves into rooms where they don't belong, smiling through conversations that drain them, wondering, every single night, what is wrong with me? And the tragedy is, nothing is wrong with them. They are simply trying to pour themselves into a mold that was never shaped for their mind. The data is unambiguous. People who are unafraid of being single score higher in extroversion than those who fear it. They are not shy. They are not awkward. They are socially competent, often highly agreeable, and remarkably low in neuroticism. In other words, they are not running from connection. They are just unwilling to accept bad connection in exchange for silence. Christopher Knight spent 27 years in silence. When asked if he was lonely, he paused for a long time. Then he said, "I felt more alive in the woods than I ever did among people." We want to call that pathology, because if we call it pathology, we don't have to ask the harder question. What if he was right? What if the person in that window isn't escaping the world, but finally seeing it clearly? What if the glory of being alone isn't a defect to be cured, but a capacity to be cultivated? And here is the question I want to leave you with. If you removed every external expectation, every voice telling you who you should be, where you should go, how you should spend your Friday night, who would be left? Would you recognize them? Or would they be a stranger you have been too busy to meet? The unseen mind doesn't give you answers. We give you the questions worth losing sleep over. If this made you pause, made you question, made you feel seen in a way you weren't expecting, then you are exactly where you need to be. Hit that subscribe button, not for more noise, but for more silence worth listening to. Drop a comment below with one word: alone. Tell me, when was the last time you felt truly, gloriously alone? And did it scare you or set you free? I read every single one, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, especially considering the effort and time that went into researching and creating this video. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who has been called Too quiet, too distant, too much in their own head? Send them this. Let them know they are not a mystery to be solved. They are an architecture to be understood. Now, for those of you whose minds are still turning, who want to walk deeper into this labyrinth than a single video allows, I've added something for you. In the description below, you'll find a link to a special document. A deeper collection of research, case studies, and frameworks that expand far beyond what we could cover here. It is not a summary. It is an excavation. Download it. Read it slowly. Let it unsettle you in the best possible way. Until we meet again, question everything.